Hi and welcome to Leitrim Daily. My name is Breifne and you are listening to the What's On guide here for everything that's going to take place in the county over the next 7 days. And it is action-packed. It's been a quiet enough couple of weeks while we kind of get over that Christmas lag or that Christmas hangover essentially. But now as we kind of maybe get a paycheck in and we're starting to look forward into the year ahead, there's plenty of action and plenty of activities to keep us busy across the county. We're going to be hearing later on from Paul Cunningham about what's happening in the dock over the next couple of weeks. Justin Farrell from Carrick Cineplex will be with us to tell us all about their new releases this weekend, and we'll have a review of some of the movies that I got to see during the week. While Trish Forde, we will be recapping what she told us last week about the Operation Transformation walks taking place on Saturday and a sneaky little one on Sunday in Dromahair. But on Saturday, they're in Carrick, Ballinamore and Manorhamilton at 11 a.m. We'll be talking to her about that later on in the programme. And Faye Hayden, who was on the show, the Kiss My Arts show, earlier in the run, this was late last year, talking about her book, and it will be officially launched at 2 p.m. on Saturday in the reading room in Carrick and Shannon. We'll hear all about that from Faye later in the programme. First, we're going to take a look at some of the highlights of things that are happening. And if you're listening to this on Thursday, the day it comes out, if you're not too late already, unfortunately, Sharon Shannon is playing the second of her two nights in the dock. That's tonight, the 16th of January, in the dock in Carrick and Shannon. Well worth checking out. While also in the Glen Centre, Irene's Ghost is playing as part of the first Fortnight festival, a mental health festival, usually based in Dublin, but now having satellites around the country. And the Glen Centre are playing Irene's Ghost. It's a movie. I think you're going to like it. There may be tickets left if you want to check that out tonight, Thursday. If you're listening to this later than that, you've already too late, unfortunately. On the 17th, there is also another first Fortnight based event taking place, and that is in the dock, and that is in one eye and out the other. It's a live play, also part of First Fortnight, and it's been getting rave reviews across the country and well worth checking out. That is in the dock on Friday night, the 17th of January, while Keith Barry is just down the road in the Lamrack Central. If you like that kind of thing, if that is for you, his little bit of magic or mind reading or whatever it is, he is going to be getting up to all sorts of insanity, and that is the name of the show, and that is at 7:30 in the Landmark on Friday night. Tickets available from the Landmark and also, I'd imagine, on the door on the night. It's in the Landmark Central, well worth checking out. Meanwhile, over in Carrigallen, the first of a two-night run, the third and fourth night of a two-weekend run is for Second Honeymoon, and that is well worth checking out. It runs on Friday and Saturday in Carrigallen, with theatre starting at 8 p.m. Get there nice and early and make sure you have your tickets booked for that as well. It's on the 17th and 18th, Friday and Saturday night, in the Cornwall Theatre over in Carrigallen. On the 18th, in the Landmark Central, we have a celebration of the Eagles, and it is Johnny Brady, Simon Casey and friends, and they will be playing their favourite Eagles songs. And I know if you're anything like me, you like the Eagles. Check that out. It's Saturday night, the 18th of January. Well worth taking a look. There's also obviously the Operation Transformation walks that we talked about earlier in the show. They are taking place in Ballinamore, Manorhamilton and Carrick and Shannon, and they all start at 11 a.m. But get there nice and early. Registration from 10:30 in all three venues. The County Council offices in Carrick and Shannon, the new community pitch, the new community service in Dromahair, and over in Ballinamore also on the day. We'll be talking about that in more detail with Trish Forde later in the programme. Finally, on the 18th, the last event that we have picked for this featured look at what's happening around the county is the talk series in the dock, Living in a Leitrim Landscape. There's going to be one of these each month as we progress through the year, but in the early part of the year, that is, and this one takes place on Saturday. It's the first one of the series. Check it out on the dock website or on leitrimdaily.com to find out more details about it. But it's a look back at the history and the origin and everything that's associated with the Leitrim, and it's well worth checking out. That's in the dock at 8 p.m. on Saturday. On Sunday, a little bit quiet, but we have social dancing in the Rainbow in Glenfarne from 9 p.m. in the evening. Of course, don't forget the cinema is available all 7 nights, and they have 2 new releases this weekend. We'll be talking about it with Justin Farrell later in the programme. Still playing some of the classics that were in over Christmas. It's the last weekend. If you haven't seen Star Wars yet, go see it as well. It is well worth checking out if you're a fan of the series. It kind of just ties all the loose ends together nicely, and I really enjoyed it when I got to see it during the week. Again, we'll be talking to Justin about that later in the show. Monday sees a Start Your Own Business course taking place. That's Tuesday the 21st. Start Your Own Business course, and that is in Carrick and Shannon, while there's a Co-Innovate workshop in the Hive on Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Check out our requirements for what kind of businesses that is aimed for. You'll get more information at the local enterprise office for both of those events, the Start Your Own Business course and the Co-Innovate workshop in the Hive. While on Thursday, Your New Name is playing in the dock, and that is the first. It's a feature-length version of a YouTube series that is going to be launched later this month, and it's fascinating. We talked to Paul Cunningham about that later in the show. That's pretty much it that we've selected for the week. There are obviously some sports events happening as well, with the under-20s game against Sligo being played this weekend on Saturday afternoon, but plenty to keep you occupied, whatever you're into, whether it's a movie, whether it's the drama, whether it's getting out and getting active, something for everybody around the county. Anyway, let's kick off with some of the things that are happening. We'll start in the dock in Carrick and Shannon with Paul Cunningham. Now it's a busy couple of weeks ahead for the dock in Carrick and Shannon, and I'm joined by the acting director, Paul Cunningham, to discuss what's coming up this week and a little bit into the future. Paul, welcome back to the programme.
Thanks very much. Good
it's
to
a
be back.
little bit late in the month to be saying Happy New Year, but Happy New Year
Happy New Year
nonetheless.
to you too. It's never too late. For good wishes.
Tell us about what's coming up in the next couple of days in the dock, because it looks action-packed over the next few weeks.
Yeah, it is a pretty busy month, and in fact I think the first 6 months of the year were already programmed right up to the end of May, in fact, and it's going to be a very busy and very entertaining, I'm happy to say, couple of months. But in the short term, we've got gigs happening next week, which most of which are already sold out, but looking towards the middle of the month, we are doing I don't know, people may be familiar with the first Fortnight festival, which is a festival that is based in Dublin and deals with mental health issues and trying to address those through using culture, and they've expanded their programme to be countrywide this year, and we're very grateful to them that they approached us and asked if they could put on some of their events in the dock. So we've already had One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, a screening of that on Tuesday evening, the classic film, and on this Friday, the 17th, we have a play called In One Eye Out the Other, which is by a guy called Tig Hickey, who's Cork-based playwright and comedian and writer, and he's been on TV, he's done some great theatre work, but he's also a recovering alcoholic, and he's written a very funny, moving, quite really entertaining piece of theatre based around him and his experiences in defeating his alcoholism, and it's a wonderful piece of work, quite funny, quite heartwarming and insightful, and that's on the 17th, and that's as part of the first Fortnight festival, so we're really happy to have that here. The following day, we're straight back into our Living in a Leitrim Landscape talk series. We started this last year, had a huge response from people, so we've decided to programme 4 of them in the coming months, and the first of them is on the 18th of January at 8 p.m, and for that one we're inviting an archaeologist called Sam Moore, who is lecturing in the IT in Sligo in the archaeology degree there, and is very much au fait with the folklore and the life history and the kind of the tombs and all the things that inform the landscape that we live in. So he's going to be along to give a presentation on the megalithic burial sites, their references, and that's an event I think will resonate with everyone who has an interest, not just in Leitrim but in the wider region. And we hope that people come along and enjoy that, and ask a few questions and socialise.
Excellent. Now, in terms, you had Sharon Shannon here last night.
Yes.
Good night?
Great night, yeah, as always. She was here for 2 nights, in fact, and it's always great to start the new year with a tried and tested and proven article, and she certainly is that herself, and Alan Connor were fantastic. Yeah, they gave a great.
Now, speaking of tried and tested, the next event we're going to talk about is actually someone completely fresh on the scene. That's a guy called Mark Warren, and he has a movie, the first part of a series here. Tell us about Your New Name is Brona.
Yeah. Well, Your New Name is a film which is made by a very young filmmaker called Mark Warren, and we came to meet Mark through another contact of ours. There's a lady called Mags Wade, who's a working actor. She actually was in Fair City for a while, and she lives in Ballinamore, and she was in here chatting to us about some other work that she was hoping to do. She's done a lot of work with older age groups around acting and stuff like that in the past, so she came in to have a chat about doing some more work on that. And in the course of that conversation, she mentioned this 10-part series that she'd been involved in. A young guy had filmed it. It's a YouTube series that he's made, and she started to tell us about that. Our ears pricked up, and we thought that's very interesting. So had a chat and said, maybe you should meet him. So I met with Mark and found that really, really interesting young guy, just turned 20, very, very talented. And basically what he's done is he's taken the money he would have used for college, did a year in college, dropped out of college, said, I'm going to take the money for that, I'm actually going to make a film. I'm going to make a 10-part miniseries for YouTube. He's looking at a very serious subject in that the Mags Wade, the lady I mentioned, acts in it, and she plays a woman who's just lost her husband to suicide, and what we're looking at then is the aftermath of that. And this will be released on YouTube over 10 weeks, or over 10 months rather, one series per month. But what he's going to do is come here and give us a feature-length premiere of the work, which he has written, scored, directed, edited, filmed himself, along with some other actors. Had a look at some of the rushes and the clips from it. It's really, 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 really good.
He sounds super talented.
He's super talented.
Music,
I think,
everything.
Yeah, one to look out for in the future, I think. But we're just delighted to be able to support him, to give him to give him and Mags indeed, who's a locally based actor, give them a platform on which people can come into the theatre in full cinema, and it's a premiere basically, and it's on, and everyone's welcome to come along. And I think if you're interested in film, or even if the subject itself is perhaps something that resonates with you, then by all means come along. We'll be having a Q&A afterwards. It'll be a very nice social occasion, so we're very happy with that.
So remind us of the date of that.
That's on the 23rd, Thursday the 23rd, 8 p.m.
So this day week, essentially.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
And tickets are available through the
tickets are available, as always, www.thedoc.ie, or if you're on your phone, it's 9650828, so...
Excellent. Now, in terms of other music, Sharon Shannon was in, but you've some big names coming over the next 2 weeks. Donal Lunny's in town, as is Jack L. But
yeah, Jack L. Forget about Jack L. He's full. He was full before Christmas. In fact, it sold out really, really quickly. So
what a voice, though!
Amazing. Yeah. And I think that's the reason he was sold out even a month before we even. I think it just went on. We just put it up online and didn't even put a poster up. It's just like it's sold. But he's brilliant. So I think anyone who was lucky enough to have tickets for that will really enjoy it. And if you love your trad, then Donal Lunny is here on the 25th with Paddy Dlacken, and those two are just two of the most iconic traditional Irish musicians I think you could name. If you were to name two, they'd be one of the two first names off the top of your tongue. So Paddy Dlacken, an amazing fiddle player. Donal, as everyone knows, an amazing bouzouki player. So they're here on the 25th for one, and tickets are already selling for that. So if you fancy a bit of trad to round off January, then get on the phone right away, I'd say. You
seem to have a good relationship with Donal here in the dock, because I know he played here with the three lads, John McCartan's group, Carlos Sweeney and McCartan.
That's it, yes.
And they played here, and he was also part of a residency here back in the day with the
Leitrim Equation.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
And I think that relationship has been ongoing for years. And Donal is such a generous musician. He often will turn up to play with other musicians just to lend a hand. And I think he feels at home here. And we certainly like the fact that he would.
Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe looking forward into February and March, maybe just mark our card about what can we look forward to then?
Yeah, another great musical event, slightly different, in fact completely different to the trad one we just mentioned. Different Rhythm is here on the 7th of February, and that we have an artist in residence, a guy called Mick T. Walk. He's been here a couple of times DJing before. He does these amazing nights of Brazilian music, world music, and he's going to be here for 10 weeks actually doing a residency, and as part of that he's going to do a gig on Friday the 7th, 10 p.m, with a guy from Brussels whose name is DJ Sofa, who's another incredible DJ. So if you're into your music, into a bit of boogie, dancing, but also into something a little bit different and maybe not quite what you'd expect to find in your average nightclub, then do join us. It's going to be great fun, loads of room for dancing, and a nice social occasion, as I say. On the 13th of February then we have an amazing jazz quartet. We're co-promoting this gig with Sligo Jazz Festival, and it's a Music Network gig, and I won't even try to attempt to...
I looked at her name as well. We'll call her Alina.
Alina Brzezinski Quartet. So this is a lady who plays jazz harp in the kind of vein of Alice Coltrane. If you want to check her out, go onto our website. There's a video of her playing there, and you have a look at that, and I guarantee if you do, you're going to want to buy tickets to see these.
Jazz harp is not something I thought
It's
I'd ever hear.
absolutely amazing. But the quartet she's playing with is these are some of the top jazz players in the world, double bass, drums. So as I say, go online, have a look at the video that's on the page, and if that doesn't convince you that you should come along, I don't know what will.
Okay, and I suppose finally we better have a quick chat about Eamon Kelly living in a Leitrim Landscape Talk series again.
Yeah, that's another. So the following on the 15th of February, we're back. As I said, that Living in a Leitrim Landscape series is a monthly one, and so he's back on the 15th, and he'll be talking about the cow goddess. And this notion, it's something that exists in all kinds of different cultures, and it's very strong in the Irish culture. But he's explored that, and he's going to talk about how that particular cow goddess icon appears not just in Irish culture, but in Egyptian culture and African culture and everything else. And that'll be a really interesting talk, because he's going to be talking about the folklore of Leitrim and how that relates to kind of the world deity, whatever you want to call that, the paragon of deities or whatever they're called. Yeah.
Now you did mention, I think we skipped over one, the Tin
Town, Blue Raincoat. Oh yeah, Tin Town is a one-person play written and performed by a guy called Bob Kelly, who's an actor based in Sligo. But it's actually based on his grandfather's experiences when he was interred in the Curragh in the 1920s. His dad was a Dubliner who joined the IRA, and was then, when was it World War II or Civil War broke out, basically the Irish government, World War II, they interred every IRA member into the Curragh. And at the time, and I've seen this play myself when it played in Sligo, it's an incredible piece of work. So it's a one-man show, and he basically relates the story of how things developed within that camp, and how it was not necessarily, they kind of turned it into a university almost. There were people there learning Russian because they expected the revolution was coming and everyone would need to speak Russian. It was quite an awful lot of cultural happenings going on there, and people were, as I say, they were educating themselves on politics, on languages, on history. And then I think the IRA membership, the official IRA membership, came into the camp, and everything changed. And that's really what the play kind of works around. But it's an amazing piece of work, and I think it's touring to a couple of venues, and we're very lucky to have it here. And I think there are plans for it to tour even further. And Bob himself is involved in a number of really interesting projects. I think he's actually going to be in the West End in London at some point in the future in a fairly major production. So, incredible actor. So do come along to that. It's on the 8th, Saturday the 8th of February at 8 p.m. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Paul, thanks very much for giving us a rundown of what's going on in the doc.
Not at all delighted.
People want more information, they can find it all. I know you've mentioned it once or twice, but just give us a repeat.
Well, I'll always mention it as many times as I can. We're online, as most people are, www.thedoc.ie. And also check us out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We're very active on those channels as well, and you'll often find a bit more information sometimes floating around Facebook. So make sure to follow us there, follow us on Twitter, and if you do come to the website, do sign up for the mailing list, because we do send out very regular newsletters with details of what's coming up, and that's quite handy to have, I suppose.
Perfect. As you mentioned, some of the events already sold out, the rest selling reasonably quickly.
They are indeed. So
if you really fancy something, get the tickets.
Get on the phone.
And book your place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Thanks a million, Paul.
Thanks, Breifne. Cheers.
Now, one other event that's taken place this weekend in Carrick and Shannon is in the Reading Rooms, the bookshop at the bottom of Bridge Street at 2 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. And it is the launch of a new local book by local author Faye Hayden. And the book is titled Bedtime Stories for Mothers and Others. Now, we did have Faye on the show a couple of weeks ago on Kiss My Arts to talk about the actual publication just ahead of its launch. And she joins me again now ahead of the book launch this weekend. Faye, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much, Breifne. Good to be back.
Now, we did go through the book and the genesis for the whole concept a couple of weeks ago on Kiss My Arts, and we'll direct people to that full interview in the programme notes on the show today and on our website. But tell me a bit about the actual event on Saturday, and I suppose the book. Give us the really short version of the book, and then we'll talk about maybe the event on Saturday and why people should come along.
Yeah, the book is a book of short chapters that would take you no longer to read than a bedtime story. And it chronicles the 10-year challenge that I've faced myself and that my family have faced. Just basically the ups and downs of life that many of us experience, or similar kind of things, and trying to find the light in the darker days, and to really encourage people to talk about their experiences in a way to positively impact our mental health as part of our self-care.
Excellent. And then we're going to be talking all about that on Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. Tell us about the event in the reading room.
Yeah, the event is taking place in there. I'm a big fan of the reading room, and would always be an advocate of shopping local. So all of that owns the reading room was the first person to take the book on, and I really wanted to recognise that fact and to hold the official book launch there. So we'll be there between 2 and 3. And local arts advocate and well-known drama teacher Mary Blake, who I've done a lot of work with through my autism youth clubs, will be introducing me and will be the guest at the event. And I'll also be there talking about the book Bedtime Stories from Others and Others. This is Volume 1, so I'll be talking a little bit about Volume 1, but also the work that's going on for Volume 2, which will be out later this year. I will also be talking about a children's book that I have written, and I'm hoping to launch in the first half of this year, which is called, at the moment, it's called My Human Family. That may be subject to change, but it's a book that is directed for 4 to 10-year-olds. And it's teaching them a little bit about people in their community with disabilities, but trying to do that in a fun way and encouraging them to see that although they have a disability, they have that difference. We're all really just the same and we all love to play. So the book includes chapters of all real children that are living in Ireland, and they will all be featured in the book through illustrations and through actual pictures. They all have a variety of disabilities, autism, muscular dystrophy, 2 little boys in a wheelchair, there's twin brothers with something called Pfeiffer syndrome, various different disabilities, and it's a way for people to identify with those children and to recognise that, you know, we're all part of one big family. And so that's the project that I'm working on. That is actually a charity book. So any profits from that will go to a wonderful local charity called Join Our Boys Trust, which is 3 brothers over in Roscommon that suffer from the disease Duchenne dystrophy. So they're always fundraising for money to adapt their house to suit their needs, as 3 of the boys are now wheelchair users, and also for research on the condition, which currently there's no cure for.
Very sad story, but obviously a very great cause, and sounds like a very interesting book, particularly for kids who find themselves in that situation where a family member or a neighbour or a member of their community does have a disability, and maybe to normalise that whole experience for children.
Absolutely, just that it's not something, you know, that group of people aren't treated separately. It's very much about inclusion, and I think the earlier we can teach that. So all children love to play, whether you're black or white, rich or poor, able-bodied, not able-bodied, have an intellectual disability or not. It's just something all children love to do, and that's what we connect. My big focus this year is on trying to connect people, and that's what that book is about. It's a book that's very close to my heart, and we're actually looking for an illustrator at the moment, an artist that's willing to volunteer their time so that we can maximise the profits to go to Join Our Boys Trust. So if anybody's interested in that or further afield, please do get in touch with me on my website, which is fayehayden.life.
Okay, well, Faye, listen, the very best of luck for your book launch on Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. in the reading room in Carrick and Shannon. Anyone who wants a copy can pick one up there, a signed copy. Anyone else who can't make it, they'll be able to pick it up, I'm sure, in the reading room after the event, but also online via your website and Amazon. Online, it's also in movies in Carrick and Shannon or in Liba in Sligo. Fantastic. Faye, thank you very much for joining us. The very best of luck with your launch. Thank you so much, Breifne. Take care. Now, Justin Farrell from Carrick Cineplex is back with me this week to talk about 2 new releases that are going to be in the cinema this Friday. But first, let's start with last week, and even before, because I did say last week when you just... First of all, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
We were talking about Little Women and Star Wars last week, and I resolved on the show that I was going to go see Star Wars. And I went home and I was chatting to my mother, actually, and I said, I want to go to the cinema. And she was like, I'll come with you. But I couldn't get her to go to Star Wars. So she came to watch... I went to see Little Women instead. Saoirse Ronan was fabulous. Really good to see an Irish actress doing so well. Well deserved her Oscar nomination for that. But it also picked up a couple of other Oscar nominations too. Yeah, it got 6 nominations in total. Best Picture, Best Actress, and Florence Pugh picked up Best Supporting Actress as well. It also got nominated for 5 BAFTAs and 2 Golden Globes. So
well worth the hype.
I have to say, I thought Florence Pugh was the highlight of the show, and she's impressed me in a couple of movies I've seen her in recently. I know we talked last week about Fighting With My Family, and to go from Little Women, where she's this kind of aristocratic young lady, Fighting With My Family is where she plays Paige in the WWE, and you don't need to have seen the movie to understand that they're very different personalities, and she seemed equally at home at both, and she's only maybe 18 or 19 years of age, so I think she's definitely one for the future. Saoirse Ronan was really, really good, well worth getting out to see. That's still on in the cinema next week.
Yeah, it is indeed. It'll be on at an earlier time of 6:30 nightly.
Yeah, and then of course I mentioned Star Wars. That has finished up, or will finish up
this weekend.
Yeah. So, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I know we talked last week, and you were kind of a bit skeptical about maybe the critics hadn't been great and the box office hadn't been phenomenal. But I just thought it hit all the loose ends. It tied up everything so well. There was no massive plot holes that I could really see, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was what you paid. You got what you paid for. It was very much a case of, we're going to watch a lot of people flying through space and shooting things, and there'll be a love interest along the way. I'm not going to talk about it, but the love interest disappointed me. That's all I'm going to say. I saw it going one way, and it went totally the wrong way, in my opinion. Couldn't quite understand it.
Yeah, left a lot of fans upset. We had a few very emotional younger Star Wars fanatics coming out of the screen afterwards in dismay at the direction it took.
See, I look at it a different way, because obviously they have a bit of a thing for Rey, and I get that, but like, they should take it as optimistic. If he can get her, anyone can get her. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've heard about treat them mean, keep them keen, but that's a whole new ball game. Anyway, let's move on to the new releases this week, and we have two in particular. Let's start maybe with Will Smith's latest offering.
We have Bad Boys for Life. So this is the third.
Yeah, it is what I think it is, isn't it?
It is, yes, indeed. It's the
Bad
what
Boys,
seems to be the final show of Will
do?
Smith and Martin Lawrence coming back once more as the dynamic police duo in Miami.
But they say the final show, but then like in 5 years' time they'll be like, hang on, I need 10 million, let's go do another Bad Boys movie.
Yeah, exactly.
These are pretty much, they're buddy cop shows. The two guys just out to blow things up and cause as much damage and destruction as possible, but they're brilliant.
Yeah.
Is this going to be more of the same?
Yeah, it certainly looks like that. From the trailer, looks very promising. They are just about to retire when they get caught up with a Romanian drug gang in Miami, so the action goes from there. Martin Lawrence is at the end of his days in it. He's put on a bit of timber and he wants out, but Will Smith drags him for one last adventure.
Sounds like a real life story as well. In terms of Martin Lawrence, because he hasn't done a whole pile in recent years.
No, yeah, he's been very quiet.
He was kind of king of the walk about 10 years ago when the Bad Boys things came out in the last 10-15 years. Kevin Hart seems to have got every role that Martin Lawrence used to do, or Chris Rock used to do, and so now it's all Kevin Hart. Even Jumanji we talked about last week, Kevin Hart's all over it. Is it one that people should go see? Definitely,
yeah. It's, I suppose you can categorise it as an easy watch. It is high action, high speed, lots of laughs, so definitely one to get in if the weather's bad and
leave your brain at the door and just enjoy the things blowing up. And the other one is a little bit more cerebral, we'll say, Just Mercy. This one looks quite interesting. Tell us a bit about this.
Yeah, so it's starring Jamie Foxx, Michael B. Jordan and Brie Larson, and it's based on the true story of Walter McMillian, who was wrongfully imprisoned in Alabama for the death of a white girl. And Walter is played by Jamie Foxx, and his young defence attorney is played by Michael B. Jordan, who helps appeal his conviction.
Of course, Michael B. Jordan seems to be popular across the board at the moment. He was Apollo Creed's son in Creed and Creed 2, as well as a couple of other things. Wasn't he in Black Panther as well?
He was indeed, yeah.
And then, of course, also super popular at the moment after the Marvel franchise success and other things such as Room, where she was in Oscar buzz as well. Brie Larson plays a sidekick to the defence lawyer, one of the activists. She's brilliant, though.
Yeah, she is.
Of course, all of these things on, but still playing some of the previous shows. I know we spoke last week about 1917 and also Seaburg. They're both available. What else is playing over the course of the week?
Also on this week, on new release, we have Waves, which is a tearjerker. We have Jojo Rabbit, The Gentleman, Little Women. They're for the adults. And Star Wars will be on its final run this weekend. Then for the kids, we have Playing with Fire, Spies in Disguise, Jumanji 2 and Frozen.
Yeah, I haven't decided if I'm going to see something in the cinema this week, but I might try and get out and see Bad Boys or Jumanji, because I think it's going to be, Jumanji might only have a week or two left, so it'd be kind of good to see that one before it leaves. I like that kind of, I like that humour. I like Kevin Hart. I like Martin Lawrence. I like Will Smith. So I'll have to go and try and catch them before we finish up for the weekend. Justin, thanks very much for coming into us. And I suppose people can find out all the times on the website. Can you maybe share?
carrickcineplex.ie, and then Carrick Cineplex on Facebook and Instagram will have all our times and trailers.
Perfect. And of course, last week by accident I went in on a Tuesday night, which of course is the special offer night. So maybe tell us about what exactly that is.
Yeah, so on a Tuesday we have the Treat Yourself Tuesday offer. It's $11.50 for a medium drink, popcorn and ticket, so it's good value. And it is also the busy night during the week, as you can imagine, so we always recommend coming about 20 minutes in advance.
Yeah, no, because people do, I suppose, some people do think that the cinema is just an expensive night out. I love it. I think it's worth it. I think it just, the experience of walking through the doors and just being taken away by the huge screen is worth the little bit extra. But that's a good night. It's a good value. And as you said, it's busy, so come early and don't be disappointed. And of course, over the weekend, some really big hits. I'll probably go see Bad Boys over the weekend. Yeah. I want to try and get Jumanji in as well if I can. Thanks very much for joining us again this week.
Thank you. Pleasure as always.
Now, it is a busy time of year, and one of the major events taking place in the next week or so in the county from a sporting context in terms of participation numbers is the Operation Transformation Walks, and we have a series of those happening across the county on the 18th and one spare one on the 19th of January. We're going to talk about that a little bit more with my next guest, who is Trish Forde from the Leitrim Sports Partnership. Patricia, Happy New Year. Welcome back to work.
Thank you. Yeah.
The Operation Transformation Walks. Tell us a bit about what's happening there.
Yeah, so the Operation Transformation Walks, the show started Wednesday evening on RTE, but the nationwide walk series is taking place on Saturday, the 18th of January at 11 a.m. and we have organised 3 walks. So we have one in Ballinamore, leaving from Ballinamore Sports Complex. We also have one in Carrick Cineplex, leaving from Leitrim County Council offices, and in Manorhamilton, leaving from the B Park Sports Hub and the B Park Community Centre. So they're all in good venues in the communities, and there's one spread in North, kind of Central and South Leitrim, so I'd like to think everyone would have the chance to be able to attend a walk. And as I said, they're on Saturday the 18th of January at 11 a.m. and on Sunday the 19th, Dromahair are also having a walk at 1 p.m. in the Dromahair Arts and Recreation Centre, which was Dromahair St Patrick's GA pitch.
And in terms of what's required, are we talking a 5k or a 10k, or how physically able do people have to be to take part in that?
Max 5k. The different communities are just finalising their routes at the minute, so sometimes they're 3 kilometres, sometimes they're 5 kilometres. It really depends on the route in that community, and they really, if there's somebody that feels the distance is too far for them, they can turn at any point. The idea of the Operation Transformation Walks is that we want to make it accessible for everybody, so there'll be absolutely nobody turned away if they feel like they won't be able to complete the full walk. We'll be able to work with them and turn around at a certain point. So the walks are about 5 kilometres, but the routes are just being finalised at the minute.
And really it's just a case of people getting out and getting active and participating.
Yeah, and getting out in their community and getting the feel good after they do their exercise, meeting with people, enjoying themselves. These walks will be a big social thing. We're hoping to have a cup of tea and a light piece of fruit or something at the end of the walk, so there won't be any onus on anybody to be sweating or doing a real hard workout. Get out, make the first start, and just get moving would be the first step for everybody.
In terms of start times, you've mentioned the locations already. Start times all the same time?
On Saturday the 18th, they'll all start at 11 a.m, but we'll have registration from about 10:30. So if anybody wants to come early and get a high vis or meet people, they're more than welcome to. In other years we've had people with buggies and that kind of thing come and get ready, so people are more than welcome to come from kind of 10:30, 11:15, and we have a registration sheet. But the walks will all start at 11 a.m. on Saturday the 18th of January and at 1 p.m. on Sunday the 19th in Dromahair.
And I know it's a bone of contention for some people. Dogs, allowed or not allowed?
Oh yeah, dogs are allowed, yeah. One per lead ideally. We don't want to see somebody coming with
15 dogs dragged along the road.
Yeah, but no, dogs are welcome, yeah.
People can find all this information on
our website, which is Leitrim, www.leitrimsports.ie, or they can contact us on 071 9650 498 or email sports@leitrimcoco.ie.
I suppose if they just Google Leitrim Sports Partnership, they'll find all that information.
Yeah, hopefully
as well.
it's easy to access us.
No problem. Well, listen, Trish, thanks very much for popping in, and the very best luck for the year ahead.
Thanks for having me.
And that, folks, is all we have time for today. A massive thank you to everybody who appeared on the show today, to Faye Hayden, Paul Cunningham, Justin Farrell, Trish Forde, and obviously to you as well for listening to the show. Don't forget, you can find out all the details on each of these events on our website at leitrimdaily.com. Just click on the events section and you will find much more detail on all of these happenings across the next 7 days in the county. Loads to do after we've kind of come out of hibernation a little bit after the Christmas period. I will be back tomorrow with a roundup of the weekend's sporting action. Talk to you then.